So what is exponential growth? If you had a chart, it's called a hockey stick chart, right? It just trundles along that handle and then it shoots up the blade. And we're surrounded by these exponential charts. The problem is we're all humans. And humans think linearly. People can do amazing things in a linear fashion. They can hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball with a tenth of a second to react because it's coming at them linearly. But even the best batter, who slips on ice on the front stoop, that's not a linear process. You fall as the square, right? This thing happens, and it's surprising. So we're surrounded by surprising stuff. So how do we get our arms around that? I have a thought experiment. It goes like this. We have this park that's going to get ruined. I'm from Boston. I picked this one randomly here, Yankee Stadium, and it's going to get wrecked because what's going to happen is, first we make it watertight, okay? And the second thing that happens is I'm going to handcuff you to the highest row of bleacher seats, okay? And then the third thing is I have this magic eyedropper, and it's magic because every time I put a drop of water out, every minute that drop of water doubles, right? So after 1 minute, we have 2 drops of water. After 2 minutes, we have 4 drops of water. After 5 minutes, we can fill a thimble. So here's the question. You're handcuffed to the highest row of bleacher seats. It's 12 o'clock this afternoon, and I put one of these magic drops down on the pitcher's mound, and the question is, how long do you have to escape from your handcuffs? A few hours? Days, weeks? The answer is you have 50 minutes to escape. And if you're skeptical and you think, hey, Chris looks like a really bad estimator of volumes, and I've underestimated this park by 100%, you can think 1251, okay? That makes you feel better. Actually, that's not the important question. Here's the important question. At what time is this park still 97% empty space, and how many of you realize the seriousness of your predicament? 12:45. This is still 97% empty space. And then in the last 5 minutes, it fills up and it's over. And the reason this is important is because we're surrounded by things that look like this. This is a population chart of humans over many thousands of years. Humans are growing by approximately 1%, 1.5% per year. And that's all you need to have an exponential chart, is something growing by some percentage over a unit of time. What grows by some percentage over a unit of time? Well, how's your mortgage denominated? Percent per year, right? How's the GDP growing? Well, we want X percent, per time, right? So we're surrounded by these charts. Here's a famous one. This is U.S. national debt. I had to staple another bar on there to get the next couple of years in. So we're surrounded by these charts, and we're supposed to pretend as if these charts are just going to be like this forever, and we can just live like this. But you live in an extraordinarily unusual time of history, and this helps explain why, okay? Now, this is all I want you to take from the exponential part, is that they speed up at the end. That's how they work. Things get faster. So if it feels like things are going faster, does it feel like technology is accelerating? It is. It's getting exponentially better. But we have other things that are getting exponentially more difficult, and that's the problem. We're linear creatures. Our systems, our culture, our politicians, our institutions aren't geared for managing change that comes at us with an increasing pace. And so that's the world we live in. Now, what does that have to do with anything? By the way, I'm the guy asking the hard questions. Hey, if this is a pair of scissors, what the hell is this? Huh? How do you talk about this stuff to kids? I don't know. All right, so our system of money then has this, if you could meditate on a single statement, go in the lotus position, think long and hard. This is extraordinary. We loan every dollar into existence. This is how it works. This is how the banking system works. If you don't understand it, go read Creature from Jekyll Island, and it all begins to make sense. That was the book that ripped my covers off and got me started down this path, and it's why I'm here. And I'm sure Robert Kiyosaki is going to be telling you all about other systems and how they intersect with this, communism, things like that. But every dollar is loaned into existence, and a loan, again, has a principal component, has an interest component. Interest, it's some percent over a unit of time. So we would expect that a money system based on debt-based money would be growing exponentially. Is that true? Well, this is a chart of debt. It's almost a perfectly exponential chart. So that's the debt side, and I put a little yellow mark up there at 100,000 This is in billions, so that's 100 trillion. So we're well on our way to being 100 trillion in debt collectively in this country. That's fine. Debt doesn't matter. It's your income, right? And hey, look, GDP, that's our income in the story. It's been growing exponentially too. No problem, right? The problem comes when you put the two charts on top of each other and you look at this and pretend it's not debt on top and it's not GDP on the bottom. Pretend that's rental income on the bottom and that's the mortgage that you're carrying and refining on a piece of property. The debt has been growing faster than the income, and it's been doing it for about 40 years. That's the problem. This is a problem because our money system is the thing that's enabling and enforcing that growth and that debt. By the way, it has to grow. Well, it doesn't have to. But if it doesn't grow, if the debt in the system isn't constantly growing, you see that little lump right there, that little tiny wiggle in that dot line, in the debt line? That almost destroyed the entire financial system. So our debt system is perfectly happy when it's growing and perfectly unhappy when it's not growing. And that's the issue that we're facing right now. So the only question before us is, well, how can we keep the income part of this growing, and how can it ever catch up with the debt side? Well, it hasn't for decades. And in a recent Senate testimony, answering a question by Cynthia Loomis, Jerome Powell, he threw it right out there. She asked, hey, is our debt sustainable? And he said, well, the problem is that we're on a path here where the debt's growing substantially faster than the economy, and that, by definition, is, in the long run, unsustainable. It's completely obvious. Nobody knows what to do about it, right? You just saw Joseph talking about the fiscal situation, the fiscal deficit of the United States. That's one part of this story, but we have debt accumulating across all crevices in it, and it is growing a lot faster. He's just talking here about fiscal deficits and debt for the federal government, but this is across all sectors. So it's unsustainable. Well, how does something that's unsustainable end, right? What forces that? And by the way, he just was recently, just yesterday or day before, was asked about, hey, United States federal government is on track to have 52 trillion in debt on the books by 2033. Are you going to monetize that? And he said, nope, not doing that. He's going to have to, because, hey, Jerome, this you, bro? This is M1. Look what, the entire country through its entire history had about $4 trillion in M1 in the system, and then COVID came along. And by the way, when that happened, I mean, that's $4 trillion in the system that every war fought, every bridge built, every business built, every school attended required about $4 trillion in hot circulating M1 money. And then look what happened there in COVID, and now they're saying, oh, we have to bring inflation down. It looks like we have a labor problem. I think we have a printing problem, but different interpretation. Now, we're getting into one of these times where I actually have to quote Lenin, because we're in one of these periods of time where decades are about to happen in relative weeks. And that's part of that exponential function too. Things persist, systems persist until they change. And that's what we have to look out for. And I believe at those turning points, that's when you can start to feel the social mood change. So when I ask that question, who knows, it feels like people are starting to act a little weird. I think that's because we're sensing this. And I think one of the things people are sensing is that there's this extraordinary period of change upon us. And we don't know how to manage that. And we aren't talking about it at the political level. So it feels completely, it's one of those risks that you can't articulate in a dream almost.